half a dozen goals scored by FC Dallas.
And 6 teams still in it in the West.
Things are getting intense, aren't they?
Well, nobody puts baby in the corner here on Extra Time. Hey everybody, welcome to Extra Time. I'm your host Greg Lawless alongside Shep Messing and Jason the producer. Act 1 this week, Kickstart My Heart. An homage to the Motley Crue out there in Columbus. Also to Jason, I know you're a big Motley Crue fan, aren't you?
Big, as your brother is.
As my brother has been known to be. Well, Motley Crue, the Motley Crue if you will, of Columbus, the Columbus Crew, now have to be the front runners for the Supporters Shield after a big 2-1 victory over Houston over the weekend. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I think you have home field advantage for Columbus in that game. Could have been the difference. I think they're the better team, and when you have Adam Moffat and Ricardo Clark sent off, I think Columbus wins that one.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, the game itself went down to the wire. Eddie Gavin with a goal at the end on a penalty. It was a good call. I thought it was the right call when Alejandro Moreno was brought down. Eddie Gavin, though, holding his nerve.
I think Eddie Gavin has really grown as a player, and it's really shocking when you think about how young he is. But he steps up there, converts the PK. These are two good teams. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more soccer played, too many whistles in the game for me, but two quality teams. And I think Houston, you know, at the end, not enough to get the job done.
Well, is this a preview of the MLS Cup, do you think, Jason?
I think it's definitely the most probable if you look at the teams right now and how they're playing. I know we've talked about LA playing well, obviously not this weekend,
right.
But Houston, definitely the most experienced team in the West when it comes to playoffs. I think the loss to New York actually last year makes them even more dangerous this year because they're not going to get caught off guard. They're not going to get caught by surprise.
And Columbus, of course, they're now starting to play, been playing well pretty much all season, but especially right now, you know, Schelotto off the field and they still get the win. Who do you think can stop Columbus from getting the Supporters Shield?
Yeah, I don't think it's a clear path to MLS Cup. Yes, if MLS Cup were tomorrow, I'd say Columbus will be there. But I think any one of a number of teams can knock them off. Taking nothing away from Columbus, but it is hard to repeat. We saw Houston do it a couple of years ago. For Columbus, they have that mark on the back.
But who can knock them off?
Toronto can.
You think Toronto?
Yeah,
of all the teams?
Yeah, De Guzman, let him get acclimated to the team. I think Toronto is one of a couple of teams that could pick them off.
I think you got to look at Chicago as a team who could potentially knock them off. And go back to last year, the difference was really home field advantage when they played. I mean, they played a close game, back and forth between Chicago and Columbus. If Chicago somehow can beat them this weekend, they're tied for first in the East. Chicago could end up with home field in the championship game against Columbus.
And Chicago now, they got Brian McBride back. That's a huge boost for them going through. I mean, Chris Rolfe getting a nice goal over the weekend. They didn't get the win,
right,
but you know they started to play a little bit better.
In a close playoff game where it's probably going to be 1-0 or something like that, Chicago can definitely clamp down, play that tight game against Columbus in the playoffs. And they got guys like Blanco and McBride, or even Rolfe is another guy who can poach that goal.
Worry about them defensively. But
yeah.
Look, Columbus is the front runner. They deserve to be, but they're going to take nothing for granted.
Well, that's for sure. Now, the team right in behind Columbus and Chicago, DC United. Last week, we said that of the 2 games they were going to play, they needed to get 4 points out of it. They didn't get that. They got 3 points with a loss to Seattle over the weekend. This DC team, they only have 4 games left. Do they have enough in the tank, Jason, to stay in the playoffs, if you will?
You know, I was looking at it, and you'd think that maybe 45 points is the cutoff for the
45,
playoffs.
Not 43. I mean, everyone I've talked to has said it's going to be more like 43.
I'm looking at it and saying 45, okay. And you can assume you're going to get in.
Okay.
So for DC, they need to win 3 out of those 4 games. Can they do it? They could, but without Emilio, Fred, and Gomez playing, I mean, they're playing, but they're not playing well.
Right. Well, they don't look like the Emilio, Gomez, and Fred that we've seen in the past. Shep, what's going on there in D.C.?
I think it's all about Tommy Sohn trying to control his destiny and the destiny of that team. I think they can secure the points. I think that's a good point, Jason. Tommy Sohn, the biggest job he has right now is to get those 3 players motivated, in sync.
But these guys are veterans. How can they not motivate themselves and be in sync? They've played together.
I totally agree. So I don't know what's going on in the locker room there. I don't know what's going on off the field with those 3 players collectively. But unless you get maximum performance from those 3, it's going to be tough to do it.
And it's the same thing in Los Angeles, too, who didn't get maximum performance from their big stars at all over the weekend, right?
Was
David
that a laugh?
Beckham,
Did you chuckle?
Yeah,
and Landon
they didn't
Donovan.
get any
They didn't get
performance.
maximum performance from anybody, pretty much. They lost to Dallas 6-3 at the Home Depot Center. A pretty demoralizing loss. LA was doing okay, but Dallas comes in. Dallas is in, what, second to last place in the West, and they thump them.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2-2 at halftime. It was close, and then all of a sudden, it's like Dallas had an extra.
Yeah, it was the
an
Jeff
extra
Cunningham
step,
show.
and
Well,
LA couldn't deal with it.
Did they have an extra step, or did the LA backline not have an extra step?
I think this is a game for LA. This is one of those games where you talk about throwing away the tape. You don't even look at it. You say everybody came out down. Nobody came out with the energy you need in MLS. No team in MLS, it's sort of like LA overlooked this game. No team in MLS is bad enough that you can walk through a game and win it.
Overlooked Dallas, and big trouble's going to happen.
I don't think they overlooked them. Bruce Arena would never allow that to happen. Look, this was a shocker. Throw it out, like Jason said. Bruce Arena said it at halftime as he was going into the locker room. Absolutely the worst soccer we ever played. It continued in the second half. If you have David Beckham and Eddie Lewis had a shocking game, and then the deficiencies in the back, De La Garza coming out of the game, hurt them. Disaster, throw it out. I still think the Galaxy are a good team.
The plus for LA Galaxy in this game was Edson Buttle got back on the field, and they need him. He makes a big difference for them up top in holding the ball in their attack. I think that's going to be...
Scored a great goal in the air. He is very good in the air.
He really is a good player. And Dallas now, maybe in the running in the West. I know you don't agree with me on that one, but look, Dallas has 27 points. Right? If they win their next 6 games, they go up to 45. You just
what
said
team in
45
MLS
points.
wins 6 straight games though? That's
maybe
what I'm saying.
Dallas is that
Houston
team.
and Columbus maybe could do it.
The way Dallas is playing, they bring in Hernandez in the midfield to shore things up. They have Heath Pierce joining it. You never know. They're looking great. Jeff Cunningham is playing like an MVP right now.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
You never know. It just might happen. Dallas, dark horses to make the playoffs. That's all we have for Act 1, but in Act 2 on Wednesday, we're going to be looking at some of the teams that might play spoiler down the stretch and a special announcement about the 2010 schedule.